Peace, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Grown Man Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Baith Noordine, and thank you for pulling up. Thank you for the watches, for the likes, for the shares, for the comments, for the reposts, for the DMs, for the emails, for the love. Thank you, because albeit without y'all, I'm just a dude in a room with a bunch of camera equipment talking shit to the camera by myself. So I appreciate it, for real. No sponsors this episode, and we gonna get into it. I'm fresh off of celebrating my 13-year anniversary with my wife. Shout out to my wife. It was a hell of a time. Clearly, I have gotten a lot more roasted and toasted from being in the sun, but I needed it. And she needed it too. And man, I'm just grateful for being in a position to do this, because it wasn't but a few short years ago that not being able to provide on a consistent basis was my life. I'm just being honest. I've always had a optimistic outlook on all of this. It's life, right? It's like, what better way to live an experience than to live an experience? And this grown man shift isn't some, hot button thing that I see is happening in the ecosystem and I want a piece of it. No, I feel like there's a lot of us, and I'll just speak for myself. There's a lot of me that I have kept locked away is the best way I can articulate it. Being locked away, right? And noticing the shift in myself just is these different perspectives that I've been able to gravitate toward that I think are sensible, they're kind, they're intentional, they're open-minded. I wouldn't just say optimistic, because there's the negative side to that too, right? Can't be too positive and not realistic. And realistic just means you have to take account for some of the negativity that happens. It's just a part of this experience, this version of it. And as much as I would love to say, like, the sun will come out tomorrow, it's not really guaranteed. Nothing is. So there's a certain level of gratitude that I have for my experience, and to just share honestly. It's just honest, right? All the different stages of Baith, they've all been a part of this not knowing and bullshitting, and not bullshitting, but bullshitting that I do know, and just the whole part of it is just one grateful experience. And I'll say it at that, right? Because I was thinking, I'm gonna just get to it. I was thinking the cost of living, right? I'm using quotation marks. You see that? Quotation marks. Quotation marks. The cost of living. Like, what is the cost of living? Is the cost of living something that we all have in common? Is the cost of living something that we intrinsically know is a part of this experience? Like, what is the cost of living this life that we live? And obviously, I can't account for the we. I can only account for the me. So the question landed on my front door as, what is the cost of the life that I live, right? Not this made up pseudo but the life that I'm actually genuinely giving a fuck about living on a day-to-day basis. Not just part-time, not on the weekends, not when Friday come and I get to turn up, because that's not even the case, because I actually work on Saturdays, right? So there's a certain, it's just made me think, like, how much does it really cost to live my life, right? And I'm not talking just money for bills and things like that, but mental energy. How much mental energy does it cost to live my life? How much physical energy does it cost to live my life? How much spiritual energy does it cost to live my life? How much does my life actually cost to live it? And not just the cost of living my life, but am I willing to pay the price for the life that I'm living? Am I willing to pay the cost for the life that I'm living? Because at the end of the day, if I'm not even willing to pay the cost for the life that I'm living, then why am I even paying it to begin with? Why am I paying it to begin with? So I'm living this life, right? Doing what I'm doing in this life, right? I'm enjoying or not enjoying whatever this life has to offer, right? But then one day I wake up and I say, damn it, I do not want to pay what it costs to live this shit no more. I don't. I don't want to pay the cost to live this life that I'm living, because at the end of the day, it's not really worth it. It's not worth it. So why am I paying the cost to live it if it's not even worth what I'm paying for it? It's not worth the stress. It's not worth the aggravation. It's not worth the late nights. It's not worth the early mornings. It's not worth the not going with sleep. It's not worth none of that. So if the cost of my life isn't worth any of that, why am I investing that into the life that I'm living? Why am I investing the stress in my life? Why am I investing the anger and the frustration in my life if it's not even worth it? Does all of the stress and aggravation and whatever it is, the cost to live my life, am I at least happy? Am I fulfilled? Am I enjoying it? Am I blissful? Do I have more moments of what I feel like is supposed to be my life? Or conversely, is it something else? Is it something else? Because as I'm thinking about this, and it all came from gratitude. The whole thing came from gratitude. I was like, yo, I am truly thankful for the life that I live, right? And then I started going deeper in this. But why? Because it was fucked up at one point and now it's not fucked up. I was stressing at one point and now I'm not stressing. I was feeling a certain kind of way about the life that I was living and now I'm not living it that way anymore, right? So of course I have gratitude for the journey, for where I was at to where I am now. I have gratitude for it because I feel like what is the best way to really embody what I've experienced along the way, and it's just gratitude. Because when it wasn't that, I was wishing it was this. And now that I have this, I'm not going to be grateful for having the shit that I wished for when it was dark and it was gloomy and I was feeling like I was never going to get anywhere. Nah, I'll pass. Pass me a plate of that gratitude because I really could use some of that right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, big heaping spoonfuls of fucking gratitude because I remember when I didn't have, right? But of course, me being the Gemini that I am, I'm like, okay, well, now that I'm where I'm the trajectory was passing through, right? And not just look at it as a passing through place, but actually look at it from a place of like, yo, I really appreciate where I'm at. And the same way I was at where I was, where it wasn't Like now that I'm not under those conditions, I guess the space that I've been in is re-examining, like, like how do I live my life without none of that? How do I think better from a place of being better, of thinking better? How do I think better or feel better from a place of feeling better? How do I do it without the doom and gloom that was attached to it in order to get to where it's at now? Right? Because I do want more, but I also don't want to shit on what I have. I do want to expand, but I also don't want to shit on the space that I'm in. You get what I'm saying? And I was catching myself like, hold on. You're not about to just be sitting here comfortable and chilling because it feels like a winning, right? Like I'm winning. Even that shit's hard to say. Like it feels like I'm winning. It's hard to say. Why is it hard to say that shit? Why is it hard to come out of the muck and not have your feelings consistently be controlled by what the fuck the muck did to it? This cost, like the cost of living, being present and breathing in your own body, having the wherewithal to have friends to call, to have jobs to go to have bills to pay, to have all of the things that we have, right? And when I say we, I mean expressly all of us, but me and my family in particular. Is like, why does that shit have such a fucking hold? I'm being honest. Why does getting it out of the mud have such a fucking like a hold? Like that shit don't want to let go. Like I feel like identifying with the, yeah, I had hand-me-downs and yeah, I was teased and yeah, blah, 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 as if that's the only part of the story that gives the good shit validity. Like I don't have to go through more bad shit in order for more good shit to happen. And settling into this place where I feel like, yo, I genuinely am tired of that choking feeling of despair. I'm tired of feeling like I'm just waiting for the other fucking shoe to drop, because how could life be good? How can I be winning when I can't even think of no reason why it would be privy to anybody specific, right? And moral compass included. Let's just say from a moral compass, what we societally agree to as being, acceptable when it comes to kindness and goodness and all of those things, right? Moral compass. If we're not doing none of that, we're no killers, we're not doing heinous acts against humanity or mankind or animals or property or none of those things, right? We are letting everybody else do what they do without the involvement of our opinion, our action, our presence, none of that. None of that, right? What possesses any of us to feel like something negative is the payoff to something positive? I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm going to just say it that way. I don't like it. I don't like this looming feeling that you have to earn your stripes by way of oppression and depression and you can't make it because it's always a fight, and if it's not one thing it's another and it's something else. This How do we all get that same story? Like how did we all come to the same conclusion that somehow pain is the only way to find purpose? Now, I'm not saying that the human experience isn't without pain. It is. A parent losing a child is pain. A spouse losing a spouse losing a spouse is a pain. Losing a parent is a pain. Losing a sibling is a pain. All of those things are pain. So I'm not saying from a place of like, we all experience this dice roll that life gives us that, like, do we even have control over that? Meaning, if everything wasn't a transaction, right? It's a transaction to bring wellness to people. There's a transaction for that, right? Some of it's free. Some of it you got to actually pay money for. The fact that we have these tragedies that we have in the world. Yeah, accidents happen. But if all of the calamity in the world is based off of somebody's intention to get the better deal of a transaction, and by way of getting that better deal, that means that they are going to cut back on certain things, certain practices, certain safety features, certain things they disregard in order to get said profit, then I think it's safe to say that it's baked in the cake. A lot of the tragedies that we face in this life is baked in the cake of the people who have the recipe. I can't say for unequivocal value that a parent burying a child is God's plan. I can't say that. I don't know for sure. And I know the people who have the recipe have baked in a lot of stuff into the fray of the information that we get. So when I think about the cost of living, I think about it from all of that is in there. All of it. Because I'm not in a country that's under war, but I am in the country that be starting a lot of shit. And as a citizen, when I look at the great machine, I've been taught that the great machine has so much power that it doesn't really matter if you have a heart for the world and you want things to be peaceful. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about us. It's about the people with the recipe and what they intend to do with it. Are they using the recipe to cook up whatever it is for all of the betterment for everybody? I look around, I look out the window, I watch TV, I look at the news, and it don't look like that. It don't. It look like the people who want to keep it are doing whatever they need to do to keep it. The recipe, that is. So I just fell down this rabbit hole of thinking, like, bro, and I can't front. Like, I'm in a weird place because there's a lot of things that I see in the world that I want to address. I just don't even. I have the bandwidth for it in conversation, but on public platforms and forums, it's just like I don't know, man. I'm 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 trying my best to not go off the rails, but that's what that is. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Speaking from a human character trait perspective, let me just put it back in there. And feel free, we can talk about this. I'm not afraid to discuss whatever on the platform. I'm just conscientious of the fact that I don't want to just be talking. I don't want to just be talking. I would love to continue to provide value for the things that I think are worthy of discussion. And as long as I stay open to that, I feel like this can go wherever it's going to go as far as subject matter. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about. I just feel the need to address certain things when I feel the need to address certain things. And this cost of living is it's a loaded term because it's a lot of things baked in the cake that none of us had a choice. None of us had a choice. And not having that choice, a lot that was coming up for me was like, okay, so as a man, I'm expected to function a certain kind of way. Like as a man, I'm expected to function as stoic and strong and nothing can break me and nothing can shake me because I'm a big man and I strong. As a man who exhibits strength in a lot of situations, who has exhibited strength in a lot of situations, I still am privy to the great machines sprinkle of essence in what I believe being a man is. So being a man, some of the questions that I ask, right? Which this was one of them. What does it cost to live my life? Like, how much does it cost me to live my life? And am I willing to pay the price to live my life? Because I'm paying the price to live my life every day. And every day I'm feeling what? As a man, every day I'm feeling what? Right? I'm feeling like I can't express myself. I'm feeling like the second I say that I'm feeling X, I'm automatically thrusted into a box that says either I'm, sassy or I'm aggressive or I'm aloof or I'm unintelligent or I'm whatever it is that doesn't say, hey, hold up, you got feelings. Hold on. You got feelings. Why do you have those feelings? Not you ain't supposed to have those feelings. It's a very different question. And depending on how you are looking at it in the moment, both of them could sound the same. I'll be honest. Like, why do you have those feelings? What you mean, why do I have those feelings? I can't have fucking feelings, right? But it's not that. It's also not, hey, man, what are you feeling, dude? It's not that either. So as a man in this life, asking myself, what does it cost to be me? And am I willing to pay the price that it costs to be me because I'm paying it every day, right? It all trickles down to value, right? As a man, what value am I bringing to wherever I'm at? Right? Whether it's in my house, whether it's at my job, whether it's with my other endeavors, whether it's with the podcast, whether it's whatever it is, am I bringing value? Right? And yes, I am clear and I understand that value isn't male or female specific. It isn't man or woman specific. There are nuances to how we can be of value as terms of being men and women, right? Which I guess for semantic sakes or specificity sake, yes, there are specific value that men bring and women bring. But in a general sense, I don't believe that value is specific to men. Only men can bring value or only women can bring value. I think we're all valuable in whatever ways we are valuable. And it's even more nuanced than being a man or being a woman. It's being a person and the type of person you are and the experiences that you had and the things that you went through that shaped you to being you, that brings the value that you have in you, that makes it unique to you, right? Just like it makes it unique to me. The value that I have, that I feel like I bring on a daily basis, that value is very specific and unique to me. It's not to say that my skills aren't transferable to other people. Yeah, they are. Anybody can do what I do. That's a fact. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do what I can do, right? But because I am me, the way that I do those things are just going to be me specific. Just like the way you do those things are going to be you specific. But this place of value is like, well, how did I determine what value is? Like, what did I determine value to be? How did I come to that determination of, well, this is valuable? Of course, everybody knows that this is valuable, right? Which may or may not be the case. Because just because I see it the way that I see it doesn't mean that other people see it the way that they see it. Or the way that I see it, right? At the end of the day, your perspective, my perspective changes exactly what the experience is because we have to see it from totally different lenses. That's just where we see it. It may be common. It may feel heavy to you and feel heavy to me, but it's probably going to feel heavy for different reasons, right? It's heavy because it weighs too much, or it's heavy because my arms ain't even long enough. I can't get it too high off the ground, right? It's a difference. So in the nuance of all of it, this, hold on. I don't want to lose my train of thought because I feel like I'm in there, right? What did I consider the value? And like I was saying, we all have the ability to bring value because we're all made up of what we're made up of as humans, like human character traits, right? Not from a, well, if you could pretend that you were a lion or a dolphin, how would you be if you encountered X? No, as a human, born as a human, we are predisposed to thoughts, feelings, emotions, perceptions, perspectives, and how we even feel about what those things are. Because it's context. It's just new. It's fucking nuance. I must say it again. It's nuance. Even this entire podcast is a nuance. It's a nuance from Baith Noureddin's perspective. Baith Noureddin's perspective may not be the perspective of somebody else. I have to live with that. I have accepted the fact that my entire life, getting to the age of 45, and being very comfortable with the fact that somebody has the space to think the way they want to and feel the way they want to because they're human, bro, it's always given me this space of like, nah, I live and let live. I much rather live and let live. Now, at a certain point in my life, the live and let live was me being a people pleaser. Because I just didn't want to ruffle feathers. I always felt very on edge and with anxiety to share what my perspective is on something because everybody's perspective is different. And sometimes people fight over perspectives. You ever watch somebody, two guys or a bunch of people, right, arguing over a game, like a basketball game or a football game or the points or whatever's happening in the game or a fight or whatever it is, right? How are we so fucking worked up over our perspective, right? Over something that none of us are benefiting from in terms of if it's over sports, right? Neither one of us are hired by the team or make money from the team unless we're betting, right? And then I could kind of understand why, right? But people get into drag down fights over team shit. Whose team better? Which players are better? Who has the better position filled with the better guy on this team versus that team? Who has like straight on beefs, like over a perspective, over perception. Same thing with color, black and white. Now we can't argue over genetics. We can't. And biology we can't argue over. We can't. Biology is exactly what it is. The study of us, what we're made of, and what makes us tick, and what makes us not tick, and what makes some of us not really tick the way that a lot of us tick, right? There's studies, countless, endless studies. To ignore what's happening on a below the surface thing is a disjustice to everybody. Because at the end of the day, it's like, I'm human, you're human, and as humans, we all experience what we experience in varying degrees and in different ways, of course. But at the end of the day, we all experience sadness. We all experience loss. We all experience the finality of mourning something, whether it's mourning a phase of our lives, or it's mourning a loved one, or it's mourning the ability to do certain things. We all are consistently going through this cycle of becoming and unbecoming, right? As a baby, we're consistently becoming adults. But along the way, we mourn being a newborn, and we mourn being a toddler, and we mourn being an adolescent, and we mourn being a teen, and we mourn being a young adult, and we mourn being in our 20s and in our 30s and in our 40s, and depending on what age you at, you have to mourn. Mourning is just a part of the human experience. The cost of living this life is the human experience. We can buckle up for the ride as much as we want, but we've all experienced a fucking doozy. Some shit that just comes out of nowhere, and it's like, fuck. I just didn't have that on the radar of shit in the moment to feel something about, to do something about, to be prepared for. It's just, and handling each other with a certain level of care and concern and space, I feel like that's what we really need right now. So the cost of living it's not filled with all of these things that don't really matter at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, who you are in elementary school matters less than who you are in high school in terms of popularity, right? You could be an unpopular, no-name kid in elementary school, but then get to high school and now you lit, right? But that doesn't make you a good person or a bad person. That doesn't mean that you'll be successful or unsuccessful. That doesn't mean that you have something better than anybody else. It just means that you are you having the experience that you're having, and you were once something and now you're not that. Now you are a different version of that, right? TV is TV, but I mean, 100-inch and a 32-inch, there's an obvious difference. Because with a 32-inch, a lot of that stuff is smaller. The subtitles are smaller. Everything is smaller. But 100-inch, man, it's damn near like sitting in the movies, just mad up close, right? It's not that much strain to see on a larger screen. Although they both are doing the same function, the function is exactly the same. They have remote controls, they have subtitles, you can go through all the functions the exact same way. The only difference is one is bigger and the other one is not. And that's not enough to be like, oh man, the world is ending and everything's wrong because the sizes are different. It's just at the core of all of us, we're made up of the same stuff. We just are. And whether it's feeling anxiety or feeling anxiousness or feeling whatever we're feeling, it does shape the way that we do what we do and why we do what we do and how we do what we do. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it comes down to expectation too. It do. Because the cost of being me, I have to expect it to be a certain kind of way. This is my perspective, right? I feel like in order to surmise that life is going to be like this, you have to expect it to be like that, or expect some evidence that says that this life that I'm aiming toward, that I'm living, right? This life that I'm aiming toward, I can see it. I see more money in the bank account. I see, a more fit body. I see whatever it is I see for myself, I'm expecting it. But then, of course, because of nuance, I'm like, well, yeah, you're expecting it, but how did you learn how to expect? How did you learn how to expect? Like, how did you receive the signal of expectation? Was it everything you asked for, you got it when you asked for it? Or was there a delay in the process? Were there lectures in between of what I want or what I said I want versus me getting it? And what familiar beliefs go into expectation as far as, well, nobody else in our family did this, so why should I expect me to be able to do any different? It is an interesting rabbit hole of questions. Because without the questions, how do we temperature check where we at if we don't have questions? Am I successful? How do I know I'm successful? What evidence do I have that says I'm successful? And whatever it is, learning how to play the guitar, learning how to sing, learning how to act, learning how to dance, learning how to play basketball, learning backgammon, learning canasta, learning how to fish, whatever it is, right? There is a period of time in between the want to do and have and be and all that stuff, and then the ground to get there, and then getting there. And what is baked in the cake of saying want, expect, I should have. Because the expectation doesn't have to just be from a good place. Like, I expect I'm going to get this, but it could be from, like I said, all of those different factors that go into it. It could be, I don't really expect anything because I've been let down so many times. I don't know how to expect to get what I want. I be wanting a lot of shit, but I don't know how to expect to get the shit that I say that I want. And I can say a lot of us are probably hybrids. I know I am. There's a lot of shit that I be like, unequivocally, bruh, I don't give a fuck what's in my way. That is mine. And then there's other things that I be like, man, you sure ain't not gonna be in the way? Because I'm about to, you sure? Ain't nothing in the way. The fear is palpable. The apprehension is like 1,000-watt blanket wrapped around my arms. Shock, terror, all that. Because I feel like, again, baked in the cake of living this life is a bunch of nuances. And I can only expect what I have evidence of, right? Because was whoever has the recipe damn sure don't want faith to be a thing that we have belief in. And I don't say that from a place of like I have a PhD in, social economics. I don't. I just look around. We get played, our emotions get played with a lot. Like a lot. And I fall victim to that shit just like everybody else. Like who put a finger down if you only meant to go on Instagram for 2 minutes and then you've been on there for 2 hours later. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm recognizing these patterns, and as I'm recognizing these patterns, it's making me question, why do I do what I do, and why do I feel like it costs what it costs to do what I do or have what I have or be who I am. It just is what it is. I know we went through a whole like period in there. I just be having to express because it's nuance. I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm gonna keep saying it. The world is not black and white from my perspective. My perspective is one big gray area because nuance is a thing in the human experience. It just is what it is, right? I was online a few days ago on IG. I'm saying online like it wasn't specific. It was a clip from behind the scenes of the new Superman movie. And as the guy who's playing Superman was expressing his perspective in the role of Superman in this particular scene, him and the director were going back and forth. Nothing crazy. It was just like a creative, like a creative huddle, right? And whoever put up the post was saying like, this is why a human always needs to be involved in creativity, because the human nuance, right? He didn't express human nuance, but I knew that's what he meant. And in this manufactured life that we live, I think we all get glimpses of what it feels like to be like in it, a part of it, the whole gambit, right? And the nuance of feelings is so much more than a construct. It's the baseline of that separates us from any other living thing on the planet. It's the baseline. Now, I can't say what a Tasmanian leopard gecko feels on the emotional scale. I don't know if they even have emotions. I don't know if they have the calculated present consciousness that we do. I would assume so if they can hunt and procreate and all of that other stuff. They have to be thinking of something, right? And if it's not, and it's just basic functionality, then it's like a lot of what we're sold as humans is, if you're feeling this way, it must be wrong. If you're feeling that way, it must be wrong. If you're a certain age and you haven't done a certain thing with your life, well, I don't think your life really worked out that much. If you don't have, more than 100 followers on Instagram, your life don't mean shit. Or if you put up a post on Instagram and it doesn't get more than one like, that somehow your life isn't valuable. And when I backed into this rabbit hole of like this cost of living, it a lot of us are paying the cost to live a life that is a lie, to live a life that doesn't benefit us, to live a life that doesn't benefit anybody else around us. We've been sold this lie. And I just, as I'm evolving into wherever I'm going, I don't have all the answers, nor do I want to have all the answers. I would love to collaborate and connect with other people who have the space to at least hold the space to talk about it freely and not get emotionally charged over somebody's opinion about something else or somebody's perspective about something else or the truth of what somebody feels like is their truth or whatever the case is, in terms of like, well, why do you feel that way, and can we explore? Can I ask you questions without tapping on a nerve that makes you feel uncomfortable? And if you do feel uncomfortable, can you express in the moment like, hey, that does make me uncomfortable. I'm going to just be honest with you, but this is how I'm going to answer. This is how I'm going to proceed. I think that's a great place for a lot of us to be in, because we won't be alone. Like, I think that's the whole purpose of the human condition, is find a connection. I don't think any man was meant to be an island. That's why our feet are always connected to the ground. It's like endless peninsulas. Shout out to Andre 3000. Right? So the way that we surmise what our value is and who is it for or who it's not for or whatever the case is, I don't think that was the intent initially, but I think for this thing to be so off the rails, at some point somebody realized, like, look, we can make them feel like they don't need nobody, and then play on that. Because if you feel like you all alone and you feeling despair and you feeling grief and sadness, it promotes a certain way of being. And if we can get more people to be like this, then our agenda to have this and control that and keep whatever, we can probably do that. So what are we all supposed to do in the midst of that? I still say connect. I still say find ways to be around people that light up the room when they walk in. It don't have to just be some romantic shit. It don't. It can be homies. It can be homegirls. It can be relatives. It can be whatever. That when that person walks in the room, it's like, man, it's about to be lit. You know? We need it. We need each other. You know? There's a lot that we can learn from other people's experiences that we may not be able to learn on our own. We just may not be able to. I know a lot of perspective that I had in the silent moments were confirmed in being back out in the busy, being back out in the noise. I'm not gonna lie. Quiet. And then boom. Confirmation. Like, nah, I know I'm not crazy. I know I'm thinking the way I'm thinking because why would I just be the only person to think these thoughts? You know? Like I said, we may get to the same floor at the same time, but you could have taken the elevator and I could have took the steps. Somebody else could have took the fire escape. Somebody else could have came in on a dumbwaiter. Who knows? You know? But what I do know is the cost of living shouldn't it shouldn't be based on what isn't serving us. It shouldn't be based on what isn't adding more fuel to the fire, putting more gas in the tank, giving us more energy and hot air to like lift. I don't believe that. I don't believe that life's supposed to be this draining experience and I'm the only person that's supposed to feel like this. I don't believe that. And it's not to say that I can't find information that changes my belief. But right now, I feel like it's more at the doing or the hands of the people who hold the recipe than it just being human nature. Like I don't believe that. I don't believe human nature is to, kill, steal, and destroy. I don't. No more than I believe everybody's supposed to be these light and loving people. I just recognize that a lot of times the evil shit that people do is usually because it's evil shit that people did that caused them to also display some evil shit. And I don't know the conditions of those kind of individuals. I just can say that usually it be some form of neglect, some form of the parents weren't around, so the kid had to raise themselves, and as a result of raising themselves, they found themselves in sketchy situations around sketchy people, and sketchy shit always happening, and then boom, right? But why aren't the parents around? What adverse situation happened with the parents that now the parents aren't present? The mom was on meth and the father was on coke, and okay, why was the father on coke? Why was the mother on meth? What were the conditions surrounding them getting to that place? And then dissecting it from there. I just don't feel like we're intrinsically bad people. And I don't feel like the cost of living life is always justified. Because it's not, It's not. A lot of it is fueled by greed and what that brings, competition and what that brings, feeling like can't nobody else do this but me and what that brings. So do I feel like I'm paying the cost to live a life worth living? I do. Am I having trouble going through the motions sometimes? I do. Am I doing something every day to lessen the distance between feeling the good feelings and then all the other shit? 100%. That's why I'm doing this. So I'm going to land the plane there. I feel like I've been rambling. And my intent is to always just connect in an authentic way. Like not just be on some, soapbox, holier than thou. I've evolved and now hear me. It's none of that shit. I'm evolving every day. Every day. I still battle with the bout of feeling like a piece of shit. Oh no, not as often as I used to, but every once in a while it'll float in there. Like, you piece of shit. And then I gotta ask myself, who the fuck do this motherfucker think he talking to? And then I remember it's me talking to me, and then I'll be like, why am I talking to myself like that? It's a whole thing. So I appreciate y'all for pulling up. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Don't forget to hit the email, grownmanshitpodcast@gmail.com. Did I say like, share, and subscribe? Like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff. And yeah, I got a few guests coming up. And I'll probably be unpacking some of these questions with them just to get their perspective on it. But yeah, the cost of living our life, you know, is the cost to live our lives worth what we have to spend for it? So, all right, man. Love you guys. Romance Shift. Bye. I'm out.